600 wins, 6 Georgia State championships, 16 regional championships, 2-time National Coach of the Year, first team from Georgia to win the City of Palms Classic, the nation's #1 high school tournament, first team in Georgia history to attend the Dick's Sporting Goods National Tournament of Championships. He's produced numerous NBA players and professional basketball players all over the world. It's real basketball talk. It's real help and real life with Coach Doug Lipscomb on the BG Podcast Network.
And welcome to Real Life Basketball, Coach's Corner Friday edition. Today, Coach Doug Lipscomb with me. Doug, how you doing, my friend?
Great.
I'm going to say Doug Lipscomb's with me because you're always with me. Heck, I acted like we had somebody else in the studio today sitting in.
The dynamic duo.
The dynamic duo. You know who we need to get to do Coach's Corner one of these days? Let me tell you who we need to get to sit in and do interviews. When he comes to Atlanta next time and he's here and we're doing the show, I'm going to let him take my spot and interview some of these coaches. You know who I'm going to get?
Who, Ric Flair?
Ric Flair would be good. We got Ric Flair wants to come on and do an interview. We need to do that. David Boyd. Because I think David would ask some questions of coaches because he knows the inside. and he's retired. He just don't care sometimes. And he's great conversation. What do you think about that?
Well, do you think you could have myself and him or he and myself over here asking questions that we don't care who it offends?
Might be. Maybe we can get the president of GHSA on and y'all can ask questions. No comment?
No.
That'd be fun. Good old boy network there would be in trouble. But anyway, I said that. Nobody else did, and I said that from the fans' perspective. Great interview coming up today with one of the top-ranked public schools in the country. And I say that because there's a fallacy, and you'll hear this among the public school coaches in the USA Today Super 25 rankings. There's the private schools and the public schools. And it appears that more and more the public schools are kind of getting the shaft of these private schools that are recruiting players and building them. So McEachern's one of the top public schools in the country. Would you not agree?
I do. Got
Mike Thompson on. They were in the top 4 in the City of Palms, top 3 in the City of Palms, made it to the semifinals this year, lost to University out of Boca Raton, Florida, who is one of those schools. They had 2 Georgia players that I know of on that team that transferred down there, and it's a boarding school that they were playing for. And, we'll talk to the coach. Here we go. Coach Mike Thompson on the Carriage Automotive Group Skype line right here on Real Life Basketball. And welcome back to Real Life Basketball, Coach's Corner, the Friday before the Super Bowl. Darren Sutherland with a legend, the retired 600-win state championship coach, national Dick's Sporting Goods first national team. I always forget to say that, Doug, when I'm talking to you. You was first team Georgia to go to the Dick's national tournament. We got a coach on here today. It may take a Georgia team back there this year that we're going to introduce. And say hello to our friend over at McEachern, one of the top-ranked teams in the country, probably one of the top 5. Let's just go ahead and talk about it, Doug. Top 5 public schools in the country. A lot of the private schools get all the topic, but one of the top 5 public schools in the country, Coach Mike Thompson of McEachern. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, guys. How y'all doing?
Great. We want to thank you, first of all, for coming on because I know you got a really busy schedule going on this season.
Coach, we always got time.
Well, Mike, before we start, I didn't put this question on the paper, but I always ask everybody because I want to get everybody to get their fair shot at Doug, okay, before we get started, so we can get that out of the way. But how was it as a new coach at McEachern to look down the floor and know what you were coaching against with Doug Lipscomb at Wheeler and the guys that he would always bring to the table? Tell us what your thought pattern was when you was coaching against Coach Doug.
Well, after Doug and I are about the same age, so I've seen Doug do a lot of things, and playing against him it was always a challenge. I think you felt like when you played them, you had to work on the referees a little bit more to get calls because he was pretty good at that. He's pretty good at working the officials. And his teams were always so prepared and played so well. It's just, it's one of those things where you don't really like it, but boy, it sure made it a little easier when he wasn't on the sideline anymore, because it was tough when he was there.
Well, I appreciate that, Coach. But since you brought up the referees, I think you and I can both agree they get paid, so they need to be doing the best thing they can do. See, that might be their second job, but coaching to us is our first and foremost job. So.
Right. And I usually I've learned over the years though that I tend to get on them more when we're playing bad. So I've tried my best to stay off of them because it usually don't do me any good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one, Coach.
Hey, Mike, tell us about your nationally ranked McEachern team right now.
Well, we've tell you what, we've traveled a lot. We've had a lot of fun. The kids have been playing really well. It takes good players to have a good team, and we've got quite a few of them, and those guys have been working hard. They're a group that's been together for a long time, so our goals have been pretty focused for the last couple of years, and so they're doing a good job right now. It's a long season, so you go through some spells where you're not quite playing as well, but it seems like we're kind of rounding into a position where we would be doing good at the end of the year, which we'd like to be able to do.
Right. Coach, I've always been one to believe that if you could travel, and especially it was on somebody else's dime, I think we should take advantage of that for our kids, for the simple reason that it helps to bond your team. And I also look at it as socialization, where they get to see different parts of the world or the country. So that's always a plus.
It's no question. It's like a field trip. I mean, it's just a great situation for kids, and we've been to some cold places, but they were very pretty, and the hospitality was great, and the competition is always good, and that's the end of it. We really were looking for was we wanted to find out how we were among some other good teams, and prepare us a little more than we thought we were prepared for it last year.
Okay. My next question to you, Coach, is if you could sit down right now with us and share with the people all over the country, how did you build your program at McEachern?
Well, I don't know how much I had to do with the building of the program other than, we've been blessed with good athletes here since I've been here. And, the group that I have right now is a group that was just a recreational team that got together as, third and fourth graders, started playing together, got some excellent training from the guys that were coaching their team. And as they've come up, they were McEachern kids. They were playing in McEachern's league, and, they stayed together. They pick up a kid here or there. And, before you know it, they're in the, middle school ranks, winning a lot of games, and, they get here, and it's still, that same core of 7, 8 kids that were together when they were in the third grade. And they're a unique group now. They hang together, they do everything together. They work extremely hard, and they're kind of the foundation for the last couple of years here that we've had. And it's been a good run so far, and those kids are responsible for that.
How has AAU impacted that, Mike? We hear a lot of coaches say, well, we know this. Kids play year-round. From the day the state championship's over, AAU tournaments start the following week. How much has AAU played in the development of your team, do you believe?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's just a big part of the basketball culture now. And, we lost to Tift County last year on a Saturday night. Kids sitting around in the locker at West Georgia College, tears in their eyes because, we had put a lot into the year, played 30 games and lost the last one. And then Sunday at 2:00, they were in the bleachers at McEachern High School, running up and down the bleachers, getting ready for what was next, which was AAU basketball for them. So, there's just really kids that are devoted to it. There's really no off time. AAU provides a great avenue for the kids. It's not all good, but you know what? It's not all good in anything. So, you take what's good in the AAU programs and the travel and the exposure that those kids get, and AAU coaches are getting better. I think the coaching that those kids get has become much better than it was 10 years ago.
Hey, one question I didn't put on here, Mike, and I want to ask you this because it kind of fits me and you directly, and then I want to know how it relates to the other kids. There's certain kids like my son, your son, that played multiple sports, basketball, football, baseball. Do you think by these kids just concentrating on basketball, they may be losing some socialization, or is just concentrating on one sport helping them so for the next level, it really doesn't make any difference?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know this about that particular issue. It's our fault. It's not the kids' fault. We're the ones that, have turned basketball into a 12-month-a-year job. Football coaches have turned football into a 12-month-a-year job. And baseball's trying to do the same thing. So, we're the ones that have put the illness on the kid that they can't do the things that they need to do to play, two sports. Now, whether it is good for them or bad for them, I don't know. You can see just as many kids out there that have been successful playing one sport probably as you can that have done two. But I think it does kind of put a kid in a situation where if you want a widely diverse child and you want a kid that's exposed to a lot of stuff, if they just play that one sport, I think that hinders that a little bit.
No doubt.
Well, I totally agree. I know you all have a very good relationship between the football program and the baseball programs and things like that, and I think I did as well. The only stigma I had was if I had a 6'8" kid that was 200 pounds, I didn't need him playing wide receiver for the football team,
Right.
But let me ask you this. With the way things have progressed in the game of basketball, people are always talking about the influences on the kids. And I know you are just like me where you want to have the most influence on your players. But now, do you think that college coaches are they leaning more towards listening to the AAU coaches? Are they listening more, or is it a combination of the college listening to AAU and high school coaches?
Doug, I think it's getting more and more to a situation where they listen to AAU guys. I think, those guys are in a position in the summertime where, they see the college coaches a lot. College coaches are involved with those kids at times during the, April and July that they can be. And I just think the relationships that are being dealt with in AAU have taken some of that away from the high school coach. I think we're probably responsible for part of that because, they've taken some of the time away that we can work with kids. I think the 4 kids with one coach that were just changed this last year helps us to stay in contact with them some during the spring. But AAU is so big. There's so many big tournaments that I think probably the AAU coach has a lot of influence on what's happening with kids. And I think it's important that, for us to know where our kids are at in AAU basketball. Where are they playing at and who are they playing for? And there's a few reasons that you need to know that in today's culture. You need to know what kind of coaching they're getting, but you also need to know who's in their ear every day. Are they happy where they're at high school wise, or are they with somebody who's trying to get them to go somewhere else? And so if you're a high school coach, you got some issues that you still have to stay in touch with in the summer. But I think I get less and less college contact with coaches. It seems like than I did 5 years ago.
Hey, Mike, let's just call it like it is on this. You lost down in the city of Palms to a team made up, and I'll call it like this. You don't have to. You can stay politically correct in the coach and be the coach, and I'll be the fan and the outside commentator. But you lost to a team called University down there at City of Palms that was hand-built. In other words, the coach went around the Southeast, went around the country, and brought in players to play for this high school program. Does teams like that, Mount Verde, Oak Hill Academy, DeMatha, the list goes on and on, do they have a competitive advantage against people like you, Memphis East, Simeon in Chicago, that have built their programs on the local level?
Oh, sure, they do. I think I'm not mad at them about it. I just think there should be a separation between the two. I think there should be a group of schools over here that are public and kind of do things the way that we do, and those schools that you mentioned. And I think Oak Hill and those schools should be on the other side over here and be allowed to do what they want to do. And Doug has dealt with this before, but at this point in Georgia is making some moves to try to stop us from playing teams that cannot compete in other states for their state championship.
Wow.
So like when we were going to go to West Virginia this year, we couldn't play IMG. Georgia wouldn't let us do that. Georgia wouldn't let us play Lala Muir. So we only got one game up there, but I think Georgia's trying to do that same thing. Now, I think they're doing it because IMG stole some football players. It didn't have anything to do with basketball.
Right.
But I just think there should be a separation there. I mean, there's no way that if you've seen Mount Verde play this year, those guys are from all over the country.
Yeah. And all over the world. R.J. Barrett's from Canada.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to compete when you're. We all get kids move in and move out. I mean that happens everywhere. But now when you bring them in there and they can, they're going to be there from all parts of the country. And they're going to board there at that school. It just makes it a little bit different. But it is what it is right now. Yeah,
that's true. So in the next 5 years, let me ask you this: do you foresee these type of schools being in sort of a league on their own compared to in not playing the general high schools like McEachern, Memphis East, Chicago, Simeon, the big guys out in California? Do you foresee that?
I feel like it's moving that way. I mean, I really do. I don't know if it will, but it has that feel right now like Texas is a lot like Georgia. They've done the same thing. I think athletically they're trying to make a move to separate those people that want to have, that type of school versus a public school. And I think there's room for both. I mean, I just think when you're trying to play each other, or trying to play schools that are on the other side, it's a tough road for most people.
Are these guys actively recruiting your guys that are through the AAUs, or are they coming straight to the high schools to recruit them? Because they're not getting them. They're not getting them by these parents saying, "Hey, I'm going there."
Hey, Mike, let me go on and interrupt that. I know darn well they ain't finna come to your school and say, "Hey, you got a problem with me? We taking Sharif Cooper with us?"
Yeah. I say they not walking on our school doing that. I can tell you that right now. They may be doing it somewhere else, but they not walking up in here doing that.
They sending scouts over to your school to watch them, though. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got one for you. Okay, when you go down to the City of Palms, and it's a great tournament, and I know you guys had a blast down there. But that same atmosphere that you see down there as far as playing, the private schools, well, if you're fortunate enough to win the state championship this year, and I think you definitely can do that, you're going to be invited to the Dix tournament. And it's the best thing I've ever been to as a high school coach. Those same teams that you mentioned, the Oak Hills, the Mount Verdes, and Little House on the Prairie, they're all going to be there. So that's your competition right there.
Right. Yeah. And what worries me a little bit, Doug, is that, based on the way Georgia has done this year with some of those things, would they let us go? And I think, you're going to have to put a little pressure on them. I think you guys dealt with that. You had to get some stuff done in order to get there. But, you're going to be playing those people. And I'm like you, Doug, I really don't – I'll play anybody anywhere. It doesn't really matter to me. We're going to toss it up and go at it as hard as we can. So, we look forward to that. I hope we get the opportunity to do that because I know it'd be a lot of fun.
Well, I think you should. And the thing, I also know we were the first, and you had Miller Grove. So I'm looking forward to you guys making it because it's an awesome atmosphere. And when you talk about exposure, it's good for your school, your community, and your kids, and your program especially.
Right.
So, I mean, they, as you know, I'm not coaching right now, so I can say what I want. Hey, they let us go. They let Miller Grove go, so they should let you go or whoever else wins it, as far as if it's
right.
Norcross or whoever. Once again.
Well, if you're in the kid business, then you should be able to go. I mean, if you're in this business of teaching and high school athletics and you're in it for the benefit of kids, then you should be able to go. That's the bottom line. So, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We got a lot of other things to worry about before that gets here. So, we try to cross it when we get there.
Sounds good.
Mike, you've got a advantage that you've built just by being McEachern and having a great stable of players and a nationally ranked team and this, that, and another. There's kids in high school, there's kids in college today or kids that have just graduated college and they're coaching a JV team somewhere and they want to build a program like a McEachern, like a Wheeler, like, one of these great programs of the past. What advice do you have to those young coaches and to get on track to be able to do something like that?
I don't know. I think if you're going to do that, you got to get a handle on the youth program in your area. You got to get a handle on a junior program. You have to have something that's consistently good that's going to bring you kids year in and year out without talking about the transfers that come in or leave. You got to have a solid base there of young people that your program is running well. It's got good coaches in that program. Preferably not fathers. Not people that have a kid involved in the program that can kind of see things objectively and build that program. And once you get that program done, then, I think you got those kids coming in, you're in a good situation. That would be first.
Okay.
With the shoe companies, coming at you right and left, I know you've been in that thing where everybody wants to be a part of your program, Coach. If you had to answer this question right here, I want you to tell me your gut and honest feeling. Do you think high school coaches should be able to get shoe contracts like the college coaches?
Doug, I don't. I don't think we should because, I'm not getting any money right now, and it's really hard to tell who's with me or who's against me. Because, like you said, you have a lot of people that want to be involved. You have a lot of people that want to, they want to use your gym. They want to coach one of your teams. They want to do this. And you don't really know why other than, is it because they want to be a part of McEachern or is it because they have an AAU program they want to try to enhance? They have a team they want to try to enhance. Do they want to come and try to take your players? I think when you add money to the circus gets bigger. And when the circus gets bigger, more people come to the circus. And I just don't see an advantage to shoe contracts for high school coaches doing anything except being a problem, because I just think that we got enough to deal with as a high school coach without throwing, something else in the mix. Plus, I'll tell you what, my football coach would just about go crazy if I got a shoe contract. That'd be crazy.
Well, let me explain why I'm saying that. Because there are other schools out there, and they compete just like you and myself. The only situation is sometimes it may be where they don't have the financial support like we would have. So
right.
What I'm saying that for is if the shoe company said, Mike Thompson, we see you struggling over here, or we see what you have done and what you have accomplished. And when I say shoe contract, I'm talking about Mike Thompson. And if they make that contract to Mike Thompson, then Mike can use that money any way he see fit as far as it being legal,
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think if somebody does something that they provide money that enhances your program from I go back to what I said about letting the kids go play because they're for the kids. You know, I try to make every decision that I make based on is it a kid decision or not? You know, is it a good decision for kids? And I'm not talking about one kid in particular, but on your team, is it a good decision for kids or not a good decision for kids? And if you can bring money in, whether it's by a shoe contract or by a donation of some kind or something like that, that you're going to put in your program that's going to help your kids, it's going to provide something for them that they don't have to pay for, then I think it's a good thing. I mean, you know, Doug, kids are paying money just to play basketball in Cobb County now. You know, they're charging kids money to play basketball. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, and see, that's the main point that I wanted to stretch across, is that when you have outside forces other than parents, that lessens their say-so on what goes on in your program. Because I could just see somebody coming up to one of the coaches and go, well, Timmy, it's going to cost Timmy $500 to go on this trip, and he does need to get on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
So I've always tried to alleviate that. No one has ever paid a dime to play in my program, and if I had to wager something, I would think that they are not paying to play for your program either, Coach.
They're not. They're not. My kids don't pay anything to play, and I don't deal with that situation that you're talking about, and that's probably why I'm okay with that. Because if I did have to deal with it, I would be looking like you're talking about for some avenue to have money in my program where a parent didn't have to give me a dime. Because when they give you money, there's an expectation there that, you know, they get what they need. And, I don't have to deal with it, Doug, and I'm thankful that I don't have to deal with it.
Mike, would you be open to, say, a shoe company like a Nike, a Under Armour, Adidas, whomever it is, a LeBron, big baller, a shoe company like that coming in and saying to Cobb County as a whole, to every basketball team in the county, hey, we want to put you under one contract. Would you be open to that if they were floating money into the county where the kids didn't have to pay money to play basketball anymore at any level? We're talking 7th grade on up. Would that be something that would interest you?
Oh, yeah, that sounds like I don't know, just hearing you say that, I'm not sure that there's a negative to that. If our kids could come in at every school in Cobb County and not have to worry about shoes or a uniform, or the coach didn't have to worry about providing shoes and a uniform and coming up with a fundraiser to do this and do that. I think that would be a great thing, and I don't know that, I think Nike's big enough that, they don't have anything that they would hold over your head other than, Nike's going to make some money somehow. But, I think any monies that can come into a program and help the kids and take the illness off the parents or the coach, I think that's probably a positive thing.
Yes. Mike, I hate to look in the future, but we've got to look in the future with McEachern's team because you're a primarily junior-laden, dominated team. What do you think? What's your schedule looking like next year? What's your travel schedule looking like next year? You got some big games scheduled, and are you going? And from a fan's perspective, let me throw one thing out there. From a fan's perspective, and Doug's a fan right now, and I'm a fan right now. What can you do to get Memphis East to come down to McEachern to play you next year?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you said that. We've talked to them. I met them, and I met Penny Hardaway at City of the Palms, Doug. That's where I met him at, and we talked down there about he has several events. I don't think he has one in Memphis, but he's also looking at doing one in either Birmingham or Atlanta. And, we've talked about having them come here and do that event, and hopefully if they did, we would be able to play them in one of those games. Or we may go there and play them. But I think us playing them at some point next year is a real likelihood. We're going to go back to the City of the Palms next year. We're going to go to the Bass Pro Tournament in Missouri, and our plan is to play there on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then fly to the Hoop Hall event and play on Monday, and then come home and be done with it. So those things right there are on our agenda right now. I don't know what else might pop up, but there's so many of those one-day events now where around here or somewhere pretty close, we might do that. But right now, those are the ones that we know are pretty solid.
Well, that sounds good, Coach. And I mean, having those things already figured out for the next season coming up is very good for your program.
Yeah, and Doug, in today's time, though, I feel like we're pretty solid, but basketball is a fragile market, season to season. You don't know. It's like being married; you got to keep everybody happy. So right now, everybody seems to be happy, and we seem to be doing okay. But I try not to look too far down the road because I know that stuff can change in a heartbeat.
No doubt. Mike, does it parallel Little League travel baseball in a roundabout way? Everybody's got to be happy.
You know what? I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. My years of being a travel baseball coach, it taught me a lot of lessons about dealing with people and yeah, it is a lot like that. There's a lot today in basketball about keeping people happy and making sure that everything is going right. That's almost as big a part of the job nowadays as knowing what kind of defense to play or what kind of offense to run. There's a lot more to it than just the X's and O's of the game now, it seems like, to keep your team on the right track.
No doubt.
Coach, let me ask you a couple of more questions, then we won't hold you up much longer.
Okay.
You being one of the top coaches, I feel like, in the country, what would you say your bread and butter defense is?
Well, first off, now I'm probably considered a better coach right now than I would have been 5 years ago. But the only difference is I got better players right now. So I don't know that my coaching has changed at all. But Doug, if we play 100 possessions in a game, we're going to play man-to-man defense 98 of those. I mean, we're a man-to-man half court. That's what we do. That's just that's our identity. That's how we want to be recognized. When we go play somebody like Hudson Catholic from New Jersey, our first thought in the locker room is they have not seen half-court defense like they're fixing to see. And so, that's what we try to instill in our kids. And I tell you what, Doug, the difference between all these good teams, let's take your team, my team, University, Mount Verdi. The difference in a really good team with a lot of good players is which team will play defense.
Right.
Because a lot of those teams don't play defense because they're so offensively talented. So finding a group of really good players, and I use Isaac Okoro as an example all the time. The guy's a nationally ranked player, but he's an elite defender, and he will draw a charge just as well as he'll dunk on somebody. And you just don't find those kind of players at his level very often.
Right. Now they're calling those kids two-way players.
Yeah, he's a two-way player.
Yeah, like you got a choice now, but I guess you do when you get to the next level.
Yeah, you do. And I'm going to tell you what, there's a lot of one-way players out there.
Yeah. But that was my main question for you. Because I love watching you play this year. There are some games I know it's not going to be worth the time to come and watch you play against them. But as we get on down in the season, I wish you the best because I think you represented, I'll say, our area well. Yeah.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it, and I know that you get a lot of people talking about your career and what you did, but like I said earlier, you and I came around here about the same time. And, you laid the groundwork for a lot of good basketball around here, and always did a great job. So, I think a lot of you, and I appreciate everything you did and you accomplished during your career.
Well, thank you, Coach, because at the end of the day, we all know as coaches, we kind of have to pat each other on the back because just like you said earlier, people may say you're not a better coach, you have better players. However, you still got to make those things work. And when you make them work, I think we all know as coaches that's you. That's just not the players, because you can throw any talented group of guys out there and they can look like some crap till, they all get on the same page.
You're right about that.
Yeah. So that's where I see you got your guys on the right page and everybody's in line, and of course, we have a little bickering here and there, but that's minor, because we always got to look on the positive side.
Right.
Yep.
So, well, Mike, we know you got a busy day. You like a public school teacher like my wife and others. You've got a busy schedule to handle. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us here on Real Life Basketball, the podcast, and look forward to people all over the country hearing what you have to say about the McEachern Indians, and congratulations on the great job and program you've built over there in West Cobb County.
Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time, and appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Coach.
Coach, great interview with Mike Thompson there, head coach of the McEachern Indians. I could ask him questions all day long, but I knew he had to get to the thing. But one thing that's impressed me about Coach Thompson from looking from afar, and you can see this, I don't think you had to go through this at Wheeler. Maybe you did, and I just don't realize it, and other coaches. But he went into a traditional football powerhouse, not just a traditional football program, but a national powerhouse that had sent players year after year, and not talking one player year after year to Division I, but 4 and 5 to Division I. He went into that atmosphere and built a nationally known high school basketball program in the public school sector. And truly, if you look at it, the only people that's really done that other than McEachern, if you look at it on a national scale, is the folks out there in California at, I forget the name of the big school. You played them before, and the name's escaping.
Modern Day.
Modern Day, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, would you not agree?
I definitely agree. There are schools in the area. Not only you can say that about McEachern, but think about this. They're doing it in basketball, boys and girls.
Yeah. Yeah, so. The girl, and no offense to Mike, but let's just call it like it is. Girls teams won how many state titles? 5. So so the girls team's filling up the gym too. I mean, the coach over there is the Pat Head Summit of girls basketball for all general purposes in the Southeast.
Yeah, hopefully we can get an interview with Phyllis Arthur in the near future.
Yeah, great job. And, Mike said some very interesting things that I think younger coaches really need to pay attention to. And that's building a program from the recreational leagues up. You don't just walk into a Raleigh, North Carolina high school and say, hey, I'm the new head coach. We're going to be top 5 next year. Would you agree? You got to build that thing from the bottom end. And what I've always found is when you build a solid foundation, people will find you.
Oh yeah, they'll find you because no one likes losing.
Nobody likes losing, and parents are going to find you. I always said this, and this is just from a rec coach's perspective, and you tell me this if this ain't the truth. Parents always want in basketball the 4 best players and their son on the floor at any given time. That's what they want. And if his son's not doing well, he just had a bad night. Or he didn't get the passes he needed. Or he wasn't set up to shoot the shots he needed. That's where a lot of parents are. And I thought what Mike said was interesting. The rec program needs to be run by rec folks, not by parents. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Some good points. Good points. Well, McEachern Indians, go out and check them out. Look them up in the USA Today rankings. Let me ask you this, Doug. When you come off a schedule like playing City of Palms, like going to Bass Pro Shop, playing in New York, this, that, and another through the Christmas holidays, is there a letdown when you get to region play?
No.
Because you're not playing the same. I mean, you're going from all intensity playing the top teams in the country to playing teams that have varsity players a lot of times that couldn't start on your JV or couldn't even make your squad as the 12th man. Do you lose some? I mean, maybe I said that wrong. There's some teams that have equivalent players or like-minded players, okay? But let's take a McEachern, for instance, okay? When they're playing a region game against I don't know.
Yeah, don't call the name out.
I won't call the name out. But let's say a lesser-known school 5 miles down the road, okay?
Take a left. Okay.
Go down the road, go down Windy Hill Road, take a right, and it's on the left, okay? That's had its own problems, okay? Is there a letdown going into those games? Or does it excite the starters because that night they know they're going to be out there in the first quarter, and then the guys 7 through 12 or 7 through 15 are probably going to see a lot of minutes and they can root for their buddies? Because at the end of the day, they're all friends no matter how much they play.
Well, it depends on the makeup of the team.
Yeah.
Some kids feel like it doesn't matter who they play. We come to give our best effort. And on the other hand, too, when you say that, you got kids that say, man, I want to play the whole game. I'm just not here for half of the game. Of course, then sometimes it could be the parents saying you're messing up your average when you sit out half the game and you only get 12 points. So it goes both ways. But I say on any given night, if you feel like you want to take somebody for just another game, you'll lose.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always great to have a coach in the coach's corner. Coaches around the country listen to us. Hey, if you're a coach around the country, want to be interviewed, we do this every week. Check us out on Facebook. Send us a note. Twitter, Real Life Basketball. Shoot us out. We would love to talk to you. We've had some great coaches, some great tacticians. Everybody there from Mike Thompson, Jim Boone, Amir Abdul-Rahim, Stan Jones from Florida State. We've had some good ones, Coach. Had good ones. And we're hearing from folks. Here's what I enjoy about it. And here's what I think our basketball fans enjoy about it. We're hearing from the folks that build the engines, so to speak. And what I mean by that is you can flip on ESPN any day of the week and you can hear Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Boeheim, those big-name coaches. But we're hearing from the guys from a level who are building the engines, so to speak, that these guys run. You understand what I'm talking about?
Let me jump on that. No, we're building the parts that they want to come into their program.
Yeah.
But let me recap something real quick. When you talk about building a program, there are some things that you got to have that are key ingredients. If you got support from your administration, number one, okay. Above that would be you got to have players that will listen and execute. But if you got your players and you got your administrative support and you definitely have the community support behind you, your program is in a really good place right there. So you got to give the people something that they want to be proud of and cheer for.
No doubt.
So that's it.
No doubt. And if you got something to be proud of, the stands are going to be filled on Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday nights. And everybody's going to have fun. And you know what? I didn't think about this, but you're talking about Phyllis and the girls' team over there at McEachern. They usually play before the boys' team. Mike had no choice but to build a winning team. Did he not?
Yes, he did. And because you don't want somebody to come and tell you, we think we'll let the boys play first.
Yeah, that's it.
Then the girls play second.
The girls play second. And you don't want to see everybody coming to the girls' game, and then your game's coming up.
And they leave.
They getting up leaving. And you got Jimmy Dorsey, the old football coach, is the AD or the ex-AD, I don't even know, or somebody like that standing over there looking at the coach saying, hey, why ain't people watching my boys' team? Hey, maybe we need to make a change. Mike had no choice.
But it was a good choice.
It was a good choice. He's done a great job. Great guy. I like what he said, too, and we'll close out. It's about the kids. If we ain't doing it about the kids, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Hey, you've been listening to the Coach's Corner another Friday. Doug, we've got to go here and throw this out because it's national news. Philadelphia at New England this weekend in the Super Bowl. What do you say?
Brady.
Brady. Break what?
Brady.
Brady. Brady.
Let me enunciate that.
There you go. Brady. Let me tell you something funny. The other night, NFL Network replayed last year's Super Bowl, okay? There was 7 minutes to go in the game, and the Falcons were winning 28-10. You know what happened, Doug? They lost again. I was yelling at the TV, Falcons, rise up this time. Rise up this time. But they just, and I know it ain't a football show, we ain't going to get there, but that's the way it is. You know what, man? You chose New England. I think New England's the better team, but I hate to even say Philadelphia because every time I pick a team, they get slaughtered. But I just like Philadelphia's makeup this year.
Well, let me ask you this. Will Gronk be back? That's the tight end.
That's the tight end, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll know by the time this show's aired. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to you. You've been listening to Real Life Basketball, and as always, improve yourself 1% a day, no matter if it's physically, mentally, socially, spiritually, or in your work life and your family life. If you improve yourself 1% a day, you fail 65 times in a year, you'll still be 300% better than you was this time next year. Coach, it's been a pleasure as always, my friend.
Thank you. And let me leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Success is always a choice.
That's right. No doubt. We'll talk to you soon on Real Life Basketball.